Alright, so we went ahead and did an inventory of everything, and now I have an idea of what I have. Stuff I've been collecting, over the years apparently. And yeah, I thought about the ARPs. I think I might hang on to those and use. I have an LSX. Maybe I'll use the head studs, because for the LSX block it's a different kit. It's marginally different because it's a 6-stud, 6-bolt kind of setup. So maybe I'll use the ARP bolts for the heads, and just stick with Chinese for the mains. Can't hurt. So yeah. With that said, we got to start measuring our clearances and see how they are. So we'll flip this guy over and we'll get the crankshaft out, and what we'll do is we'll just basically we'll just measure down the line. I'll go ahead and mic the crankshaft and set up the dial bore gauge, and then check the difference between the two. That'll be the easiest way to do it. So we're going to use the ARPs since we have them, and it'll just make it a nice install. And I wanted to go ahead too and just pull the caps off. I'm kind of like, a send it kind of guy in a lot of ways, and then there's a lot of things that I let kind of get into, let bother me, kind of like the details and whatnot, the fine details. I think it's okay to afford myself the luxury of being detail oriented and kind of nitpicky when it comes to building the engine, especially when you got a bunch of expensive parts. So if I was just slamming together a junkyard engine, maybe it'd be a different story, but yeah, we'll just go ahead and check everything, make sure it's good. And so I pull these caps just to make sure that it's clean in between here, and it could be cleaner, so that'll be a quick thing to do. I'm also going to pop these bearings out to see if I can get I'm not sure what bearings they are. I tend to think they're standard passenger style Cleveite bearings, but I don't know for sure. So I'm going to pull one out and take a look at, see if there's any markings on it, and just clean all the surfaces that are going to mate together down, so we can get accurate readings from our tools. So I have a couple different sets. I have like a coated set, and then I have like this plain. It's probably the passenger style bearing, so I'm pretty sure that's what I ordered. I'm just going to write down the code just so I have it, but it says standard on there. What you got to remember when you're putting these bearings in, that there is an upper and lower bearings. So the uppers obviously go. It doesn't say upper, at least on this one it doesn't, but the lowers definitely say lower. So I'm just going to pop all these out. There's a little bit of oil behind this bearing, so we're just pop it out, clean it up, make sure, like again, everything's nice and clean. And then if these don't work out well, usually these coated ones are just a little bit thinner, so if we need to have a little less clearance, so if we need to use one of those, or we need to mix and match, we can do that too. Ma? We're just torquing these guys down now. Ma. 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 20 foot-pounds. Bob is being a little bizouch today. I let him in the shop, but it's too late. No time for shop shoot today. got no time for shop sheet, Bob. All right, so now we got all the mains cleaned, torqued, and we're ready to measure. So yeah, it's getting kind of late, so I'll probably postpone this until tomorrow. But at least we're all cleaned up, ready to go. I know all the surfaces are clean, everything's mating properly, and everything's torqued down properly. And yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and start measuring the crankshaft and the bearings to determine what the clearances are.
What I do is I just use the micrometer and set it for each individual journal. So here I'm tightening up the micrometer and just locking it down. So it doesn't even, you don't even have to be able to read them to be able to do this technique. You just have to be able to actually use it and know what equals the appropriate amount of resistance as you're locking the micrometer in place. Once that's done, you just take your dial bore gauge and you're going to add, you'll set it up with 10 thou of preload, so it should say 1 on the little inner dial of the dial, and then you just rock the micrometer basically over to find the point where it's the tightest. You'll set that to your 0, and then once that 0 is set, you can stick it inside the bore, and it's simulating what the crankshaft is. So there should, whatever it's set, whatever it reads, like in this case it'll read about 1 thou, which wasn't enough. Then you know that's your clearance. That's the distance between your crankshaft and your bearings. And that's how I like to do it. I don't think I explained that well in the video, so I just wanted to kind of do a little talk over, and we'll fast forward through the rest of that.
All right, so after measuring all the mains on these standard king bearings, they are all like about 1 thou too small. So I got anywhere between 1.9 and like 2.4, but most of them are like right around 2. So if you can get like one oversized, that'd be good. I do have a pack of clevites, so we'll throw them. They're supposed to be standard too, so in theory we should get the exact same numbers, but that doesn't always work out. So we'll pull all these out and swap them out with the clevites and see what we get there.
Okay, so I went ahead and swapped out the bearings. You see these are the king bearings, and these are coated clevites. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know. I'm not sure what's gonna happen.
What should happen is it should be the same, because they're both standard bearings, and it should basically make no difference. But I haven't really set this, but this should give me an idea, just because we'll be within a few tenths of a thou. It's 2 thou. 2 thou. God, 1.5. 1.5. So yeah, we are nowhere where we need to be. So I'm gonna go and see if I can find some oversized bearing. The thing that sucks about these bearing guessing games is that you end up spending a lot of money on bearings. It's nice if you have a set you can kind of keep for reference, but if you're just doing like one engine every now and again, it's just not going to be feasible. But every time you buy them, I want to say it's like $100 for a package to take a guess to see if you were close or not. But yeah, we'll go pull up the old Clevite book. Thanks, Bob. and see what the deal is, see what we can dig up, see if we can get something bigger, something oversized. Hey everybody, we're back. We are back. And so we did this, measured bearings. So I usually, I think the thing to do is shoot for like 2.5. So we said 2.5. It's actually like 2 thou and 5/10 of a tenth of a thou, if that makes sense to you. So it's actually 0.0025 is kind of what I shoot for. So I was a bit perplexed because these are supposed to be standard bearings, and they're coming out like two-ish. The king bearings, the clevites were a little bit tighter even again. So I went and did what you're supposed to do, looked up the clearances, and the factory specs on an aluminum block is actually 0.0008, which is like 8/10 of a thou, to 0.0022, which is 2 thou and 2/10 of a thou. So we're actually like there with the king bearings. But I PM'd I have some smart friends that like used to work at like the School of Automotive Machinists, and people that actually paid attention to when they went to engine building school, unlike me. But so I PM'd some of my buddies and said like, yo, what do I do here? And their consensus is like 2.5. So I did some research and I found some bearings that were a thou extra clearance. So we're going with the king bearings, and it's like a thou extra clearance. And all that stuff seems to make sense to me. So talking to my buddy, he said it makes a difference like what crankshaft you have. Did you take it? Like I didn't take this crankshaft to get it trued up. It's just a factory crankshaft, and you know, if you have a good crankshaft guy, which we do have here, they can actually true it up so there's no like lateral difference in the journals. They're all the same. They're pretty good from the factory, so you can let yourself worry about all kinds of craziness. But what we're gonna do is with that should put us between. I think our smallest bearing was 1.4, which is still within specs, so that should, in theory, bump that up to like 2.4, and then we can mix and match. So that's acceptable too on bearings, is mixing and matching, so to get to where you actually need to be at. So we did that, and we ordered those up. Actually ended up going through Summit to get those guys, and it was like $108. And it's like their little advertisement from King says all their bearings are, you know, sent out within a thou. Well, I hope these are I hope these are perfect. So that'll give us the extra clearance we need. If they are actually a thou over, it'll kind of put us where we can work through it to get that 2.5. Probably have to mix and match. Anyway, rambling on that. So we have to wait for that. In the meantime, what we can do is we'll check the rod bearing clearance. So that's what's up next.